History isn't always written over years. Sometimes it's written in a matter of minutes. In March 2026, a cascade of diplomatic failures led to a moment the world had feared for decades. A moment that would redefine global power, it's our economy, and the very concept of security. This isn't just a story of regional tension. This is the story of the 2026 flashpoint, the night that changed everything. For years, a silent countdown had been underway. International monitors had long warned about red line thresholds and high-level energy research in a particularly volatile region. These weren't just abstract concerns. They were about a delicate balance of power that kept the world from tipping into chaos. By early 2026, the diplomatic channels that had maintained a fragile peace for so long finally went silent. The phone lines were dead. The embassies were empty. The world held its breath. So how did we get here? How did a localized issue escalate into a global crisis? Three key factors pushed us over the edge. First, the threshold. Intelligence reports initially dismissed as rumors were suddenly confirmed. A critical technological limit had been breached. This wasn't just a small step forward. It was a quantum leap that permanently altered the strategic balance. A new player had gained the ability to hold the world hostage, and the old rules no longer applied. Suddenly, the unspoken agreements that governed international relations became obsolete. Second, the policy shifts. The world's major powers, who had previously maintained a policy of strategic oversight, watching from a distance, gathering intelligence, and using diplomacy, made a drastic pivot. The new doctrine was active neutralization. The time for observation was over. The risk of inaction was now seen as far greater than the risk of intervention. Secret meetings were held, alliances were tested, and a new, aggressive consensus emerged. The objective was no longer to manage the situation, but to end it. And third, the global choke point. Tensions finally spilled over into the world's most critical maritime corridors. These narrow waterways are the arteries of global trade, carrying the oil, gas, and goods that power our daily lives. When the security of these routes was compromised, when ships were threatened and passage became uncertain, the conflict transformed. It was no longer a regional dispute. It was a global emergency. The world's economic lifeline was under threat, and that was a line that could not be crossed. The response was swift, precise, and unlike anything seen before. It was a coordinated multinational effort aimed at what military planners called neutralizing strategic capabilities. The operation was meticulously planned to avoid a wider war. The focus was not on populations or cities. Instead, it targeted hardened infrastructure, the specialized deep underground facilities where the new, dangerous technology was being developed and housed. These were the nerve centers of the new threat, buried hundreds of feet beneath rock and steel. But before a single jet took to the sky, or a single ship left its port, the first shot was fired in a different domain. The digital front. A massive, silent cyber-attic unfolded, what insiders called a systemic disruption. This wasn't about stealing data or spreading propaganda. This was a digital siege. Power grids, communication hubs, command and control networks, and early warning systems within the region were temporarily decommissioned. The goal was to blind and deafen the adversary, to isolate their leadership, and to prevent any rash, retaliatory escalation. For a few crucial hours, the entire digital nervous system of the target nation went dark, creating a window for the physical operation to begin. The primary objective was clear: to reset the regional chessboard, to surgically remove the immediate threat and ensure that such high-stakes technology would once again fall under strict international oversight. It was a gambler, higher-risk, higher-reward move designed to pull the world back from the brink. But every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The world didn't just sit back and watch. The immediate aftermath was a multi-vector response that sent shockwaves across the globe. The first and most immediate impact was on the maritime corridor, the world's most critical transit point for oil and gas. The very choke point that triggered the global response was now officially declared a contested zone. Military fleets from multiple nations converged on the area. This wasn't a battle, but a tense standoff. The effect was instantaneous. Maritime insurance rates, the cost to protect ships and their cargo, skyrocketed by 300% overnight. Shipping companies were faced with an impossible choice: pay the astronomical fees, or reroute their vessels on much longer, more expensive journeys. This led directly to the logistics crisis. Suddenly, the cost of moving anything, anywhere, exploded. It wasn't just oil, it was everything. The components for the phone in your pocket, the grain for the bread on your table, the clothes on your back, every single product that relies on the global supply chain felt the impact. The world got a brutal lesson in just how interconnected our security and our economy truly are. Empty shelves weren't a possibility. They were a reality. The crisis wasn't happening over there anymore. It was in every port, every warehouse, and every store. And then came the geopolitical fallout. The 2026 flashpoint drew new lines in the sand. The old, complex web of alliances and rivalries was shattered. Nations were forced to pick a side, to declare their allegiance in a rapidly polarizing world. This created a new bipolar global structure, stark division between two major blocs with competing ideologies and interests. It was a chilling echo of the Cold War, but with new players and even higher stakes. Diplomats who had spent their careers building bridges now found themselves building walls. The world that emerged from the 2026 flashpoint was fundamentally different. The global economy was fragile, supply chains were redrawn, and a new era of strategic competition had begun. The event served as a stark reminder that in our modern world, a crisis in one corner of the globe can become everyone's problem in the blink of an eye. The delicate balance we rely on is more fragile than we think, and the future is never guaranteed. The story of the flashpoint is a warning, a glimpse into a future that was narrowly avoided, and one we must work tirelessly to prevent from ever becoming our reality. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. We'll see you in the next one.